Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in the inmendham brain. So we're going to talk about brains mostly, and identity and what it is to have a character, to be a person, to be a labelable device in terms of just a statement about well, it speaks pretty good English, or it cleans the floor well, if you're a vacuum cleaner, some sort of way of describing something as a function, and what it is to be a human and functioning, and whether there should be a minimum standard to how humans function, and what we do about the fact that there obviously isn't a standard, and all of that kind of crap. And we're going to do it in the context of Robert Sapolsky's selling of his book, where he talks to everybody on the internet, except for me probably, about a book he wrote called Determinism, Determined, which, it seems like such an obvious title for the subject of free will bullshit, and it's really late to the game. I mean, in my opinion, Sam Harris did a pretty clear, decisive, concise job of destroying any idea that we're doing anything besides robotically mimicking or just byproducting, just cause and effect, that we're doing anything other than what we've been caused to do, frankly. And it's kind of a simple argument. You can't will yourself to play the piano if you never learned how to play the piano. You can't will yourself to fly the plane, or will yourself. You have to gain knowledge to be able to do something. So why would you want a free will anyway? It doesn't even make any sense. Free from what? Free from our education? I should be free to think 2 + 2 is 3. Why would I want that freedom? What you want is an intelligent will. You want a good will. You want a perfect will. You want some kind of will, whatever it would be, that would make you into a very constructive and productive machine. So you want a very good operating system, you could just argue. And if we could replace will with that terminology, might be better off. And then we'd understand that it's just programming, and that the program needs to anticipate errors and anticipate things not being easily put into boxes and categories, and that you have to do different levels of thinking, that some problems, 2 + 2, are really easy to solve. Some problems aren't so easy. Lots of stuff. So this subject is deep and rich. And I did end up making an 1.5-hour video where I didn't even get to all the stuff I wanted to get to. But underlying that deep richness is this elemental argument I keep making, that this is a pamphlet subject. I mean, this is a subject that should be about this thick. It just isn't that. It shouldn't require all this talk and all this bullshit to explain the simple dynamic that it's a cause and effect universe, and there's no free causes. There's no causes from God. There's no causes from Mars. There's no extra cause. There's just the environments that we have, and there is no special knowledge. Somebody doesn't travel from the future and give you the special knowledge. Give you a clue that somebody else doesn't have. Doesn't tell you about penicillin 500 years before penicillin is invented. None of that shit happens. We have to go through this grind of playing with our environment until we can understand what our environment is, and how to not make a mess in the environment, and the simple ethical rules. So this is, I sort of point out that Sam Harris had 2 books, one on free will and then one on the moral landscape, and to me they're combined. That's the real story, is that the truth is that ethics are really easy to understand. It's a simple idea, not being a shithead. It's really easy to understand it in the sense that even the Christians could figure it out when they did the do unto others you have others do unto you. the Jeffersonian concept of your rights end where somebody else's rights begin. So many easy ways to understand this basic ethical theme, that you want to first do no harm, that you want to be productive, that is, you want to leave the place better than with your existence than without your existence. So if there's two worlds we can compare, the world with you in it and the world without you in it, which one is better off? And frankly, you should be striving to make sure the one with you is the better world. That's not much to ask from one of these robots, is to start their life understanding they have an obligation to be productive. They have an obligation not to burn down the damn place. They have an obligation not to, shit in the living room floor. They have an obligation to manage their existence in some way that doesn't make more work for somebody else, or doesn't kill somebody else, or doesn't take from somebody else, doesn't rape somebody else. This isn't even close to being complicated for humans. Come on. Don't tell me, that you know your mathematical tables and yet you can't figure it out. That you shouldn't just walk up to somebody and kick them in the nuts. And you shouldn't do it for 10 cents. Oh, here's 10 cents. Go cause somebody pain. You sure you can't figure out that it's not a bargain? Come on. So, the very fact that we don't have some... that we can't even all agree that we should have minimum standards for people's functionality, and it's not asking too much, that you not be insanely high maintenance in your existence, that you don't need zillions of dollars to keep you happy. Even simple concepts like that, is ridiculous, frankly. It's just showing, how poorly science has served us, how poorly the talking heads have done this political argument, that we'd even have these arguments. The fact, look, I point out in the video, so many things that are just so goddamn stupid. The fact that we think it matters whether you're a drunk driver, let's say, and you kill somebody. Well, obviously you didn't kill them on purpose. Obviously you're just bad luck that somebody was coming the opposite way, and that all the other times you were drunk driving you didn't kill anybody. There's no difference between this time and those times. There's nothing different than the guy who drunk drive last night and he didn't kill anybody. Why the fuck are you in jail for 40 years and he's not? Those things are so illogical and so stupid. The whole idea that attempted murder is somehow less of a crime. Yeah, I tried to kill him, but I failed because I'm incompetent. How is it less of a crime? It just doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. We can't even fix that shit. And these guys are talking about these really difficult problems of, trying to educate the poor and to quit enslaving their children to ignorance and debauchery. To try to get them to be a little tiny bit responsible and maybe not have babies they can't take care of. Even simple ethics like that. And we can't even force people to be a little bit cognizant of that, to take any responsibility for what a blight they are to the society, or to everybody who's trying their best not to be a living room shitter. Oh, fuck. Anyway, so it's in that context. So he's pushing a book, and his biggest failure in this argument, right? It's an argument, most of the free will argument is already redundant. We've all heard it before. It's like, there's quantum effects and blah, blah, blah. And then they make the sentient, the sensible argument, just point out how, random will isn't free will. So random isn't going to give you a smart will or a wise will or a better will. So why the fuck would you want a random will? That would be stupid. So that's not, you're out. That's not going to give you any better will. So there really is nothing here. But again, the simple themes of do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. If every kid in the world, if we have the expectation that every single kid has heard that sentence, then we should have the expectation that they paid a little bit of attention and said, well, yeah, that sort of makes sense. Don't rape me and I won't rape you. Oh, well, that seems like a bargain. Yeah, let's go with that. And if somebody can't go with that, okay, if that's too challenging to their personal interest, then maybe we should say they're just too fucking broken to play life. And maybe they should pay, graceful exit, put to sleep, fuck you, We don't need computers this stupid. If you can't calculate the simple equation, I'd rather not be raped, and you can't figure out that somebody has a right to say that, then yeah, fuck you. Not complicated. Not anyway. And this asshole, sorry, you know, is in some way defending some notion that we're just too hard on the criminals. When no, we're too fucking easy on the criminals. You have to punish bad behavior. Punishment works. Whips work better than carrots. Because, you know, carrots aren't cupcakes. Carrots aren't, you know, it's hard to make really good rewards. It's expensive to make them, let's just say. I mean, I can give you $10, but, you know, $10, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to go out of my way for $10, you know. So it's a little harder, and whips are easier and economical. So we probably, as a society, should take advantage of them. Now, I'm all for carrots. I'm all for paying people, giving people prizes for not failing. So don't get arrested, don't break the law, don't speed, don't, you know, and we should pay you for that. You know, if you can spend 5 years without being a menace, yeah, maybe we should give you $5,000 for not being a menace for 5 years. And then we go another 5 years, we'll give you another $5,000 for not being a menace in the last 5 years. So there's positive ways to get people not to be assholes, not to have reckless kids they can't afford, not to, you know, spread herpes, not to do this, not to do that. You know, we can reward good behavior. You know, wear your condom, blah blah blah, and we can point out how, well, you're going to lose your reward if you're a reckless asshole. So if you go around speeding through intersections, and, you know, you're likely to eventually pay a price for that. And one of the prices you're going to pay is you're going to lose your $5,000. Fucker. So we can take away benefits without doing punishments. You know, we can keep it a reward incentive system, but we don't even try to do that. You know, and that's the real failure of this conversation. Is, I mean, that's, you know, we shouldn't need to do any of this, frankly, right? I could make the argument that, frankly, if everybody was me, you don't need a cop. Okay, we don't need any police officers. Just get rid of them. Okay, no, they serve no function. Because I'm not going to be a criminal, frankly. I'm not going to do anything that's going to require me being arrested and incarcerated. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to, even if I did kill somebody, I'd kill him for a damn good reason. So, yeah, I got no problem with it. I can't see any problem with it, frankly. So it's just the fact that we have these divergent ethics that creates this problem. And then one of the ones that we should all agree on is this really stupid stuff shouldn't be necessary. I mean, theoretically, stop signs, I use that as an illustration, shouldn't be necessary. Because everybody should know not to plow through an intersection. I mean, it's just logical. So we should just have intersection signs. And everybody should know, hey, yeah, it's an intersection. I got to slow down. Got to make sure there's no cars coming. You know, it's not brain surgery. And we don't even have that expectation. We don't even demand that much from these creatures we call our fellow man. You know, it's pitiful. Pitiful that they're going backwards and having some conversation that we somehow should placate these morons and the broken computers even more, that we should give them even more latitude to blight our civilization, you know, because it's not their fault they're a bad computer. Who cares whose fault it is? It doesn't make any difference whose fucking fault it is. The fact is, if you punish the good, that don't work. You have to punish the bad function. Whether the bad function's on purpose or not doesn't make any difference. You have to stop the rabid dog. You can love the dog, you can cry about the dog's plight, you can do all of that. I'm not saying don't cry for the poor criminals. Don't feel sad or bad for them. But I'm saying you can't treat them differently. You can't break reward and punishment because you feel sorry that they're assholes. I frankly don't feel very sorry, just because the level of asshole is so humongous that how could they not realize they weren't a giant walking asshole? I mean, the stink and the smell, and is so obvious. The grotesque pussiness of their existence is so obvious the blight they create is so obvious. How can they pretend it didn't happen? It's not what I'm not a bad person. Fuck, you're not. And fuck, you can't see it. So anyway, alright, probably went on way too long. I should make this a short video because the video is really an hour and a half, you know. But there is a lot of peripheral stuff to this subject. And it's just hard to get to all that. Alright, so this is mostly, the beginning of the video is mostly me talking again, doing a rant. You can't miss. I mean, you can't miss it in some sense. And I'm just saying, I mean, I did have the advantage, as I often call it, an advantage. Okay, so there's some things you just figure out, you know, it's so easy to figure out. So I had sisters. It made it really easy for me to figure out that, yeah, they're cheated a little here. They can't do the things I can do. You know, they have the same liberties. You know, they wear suggestive clothing. They ask to be raped. If this happens or that, you know, it's all this bullshit. So many little pieces of bullshit in their life. The period thing, you know, terrible blight. You know, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't sign up for any of that shit. So I could gain some appreciation for the circumstance, and I could always understand that I sort of have an obligation to try to certainly cut women some sort of break for the fact that anything they accomplish, they had to work harder to do it. All right, something like that. You know, appreciation or skill. Okay, so if we're saying that somehow there's an innate skill, you know, living skill. All right, so that's what this free will thing comes down to. Somehow there's supposed to be some kind of, like, we're born with being good, and we're born to do the right thing, and we're born to some kind of default to some sort of our free will, goodwill thing, and like it's some sort of mechanism that exists in space, like somehow it's in the water, like fluorine or something. Somehow you just drink your goodwill water and you're supposed to have this goodwill thing, and it's only because you did something wrong you ruined your goodwill. And the exact opposite is the truth. We're born selfish little scum that can't see much past our own desires, and we have to acquire knowledge of the fact that yeah, there's fences and you can trespass, and this is your space, and you have a right to your space, and you have a right not to have somebody rape you, and the deal is you don't rape. Okay, that's not very complicated, right? So, all right, so there, we're kind of done, right? We've got the ethical landscape kind of defined. I don't take, and then people don't take from me. Good deal. I'll take that deal. I mean, come on. That's not complicated. A second difference between an hour and an hour and a half. You know, if I cheated by 4 seconds, you're not going to notice any of that shit, so why pretend? Alright, so now I was talking about all the statistics and the bullshit they use to try to pretend that genetics are controlling us and our hormones and our moods and whether we eat or not. These are tiny little fractional effects that it has on the end result behavior. This isn't dramatic stuff. This isn't like 90% of judges give people the death penalty because they, you know, have indigestion. I mean, it's just bullshit, okay? It's a peripheral, tiny little effects that these things have, and they only have effects because human beings are hypocrites and liars, and you know, a lot of them don't have any deep principles. Because the fact is you're not going to make somebody. I'm not going to, you know, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not going to become somebody's, you know, selling meat on the street, okay? Because I took an aspirin, and you know, sorry, it made my blood a little thinner. And therefore, blah, 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 blah. You know, fuck all that bullshit. Speaking of which, yeah, I just, you know, I got shingles, which is really nasty. Old people disease, generally speaking. You get over 60, and this is something that you might have to deal with. But I got it right on top of a backache, and so it's just so, it's been a really, you know, it's so erratic. You know, for 3 hours you're in this intense pain, you can't escape it, it's awful, and then, you know, then you're fine for 3 hours. You know, it's really just awful. Well, anyway, so yes, it's made shit out of my mood, but it hasn't changed me, generally speaking. You know, certainly I would argue it's made me less patient. I don't want to hear somebody's long story because I'm like, oh, come on, just shut up already. you know, so I mean, yeah, it's changed little bits of how I behave, but it hasn't changed me from you know, a Democrat into a Republican. I can't really even say I'm a Democrat anymore because they're too stupid. So I don't know what the... I am non-affiliated at the moment. Territory. And what you're allowed, where you're allowed to step, and how you're allowed to step. And that's all just... So it's all this navigating the moral landscape, this very easy map to draw about the fact that the Jeffersonian notions, right? So I can do the do unto others, have others do, have do unto you. Your rights end where somebody else's rights begin. I mean, it's so easy to understand what the trespasses are, what the violations are, what the unproductive behavior is. You can kind of understand that you're being unproductive. You know, when we have to hire policemen to chase you down, you know, then, you know, you can kind of figure out, yeah, I'm probably costing the system some money, huh? Duh. The gun and shoot it. For fuck's sake, you don't sit there and pretend that there's something so valuable about the welfare of these shitty pieces of crap that commit all these crimes. Yeah, so you know, I sort of made the analogy to the rabid dog and the other blights, and you really have to take these blights seriously, and if you don't, you're going to end up with the blights forever. So it's sort of like you got to cure the disease. You can't sit there and pretend to do this Band-Aid thing, like I'm going to treat each one and I'm going to blah blah blah. You really want to cure it, and the cure is to just basically say, look, there's a minimum standard. It's not asking much from you. Just meet your minimum standard, and you know, you're not going to be you're not going to have any trouble with the system. But don't meet it, and fuck you. You know, there's no profit in reclamating broken computers. Nobody fixes computers. Nobody fixes toasters. Nobody fixes sneakers. Nobody fixes this shit because there's a surplus of it. There's all kinds of perfectly functional human computers that are going to die this year because of a lack of some simple $20. You could save their life with $20. And they're capable of being great computers. They're capable of curing cancer, maybe. Why are we fixing some fucktard who can't figure out how he's not entitled to rape and steal and pillage and do all that crap? Why the fuck do we care whether we reclamate that piece of shit? Just put it to sleep. Be done with it. I'm not saying torture it. I'm not saying tear its limbs off. It's not like the system is saying we must punish. The system's merely saying we must deter. And you can't deter it if it works out just fine. If it works out just fine for the criminal who couldn't help himself, well, then every single criminal who can't help themselves is not going to help themselves. Their brain isn't going to write the better story that says, I go to jail. I get what I deserve. If we don't make that the reality, if we don't connect deserve to the behavior, then frankly, a lot more people are going to be criminals. Yes, it's make me a little more likely to say that stupid cunt. Rather than... Right, so I was just talking about moods change little things. Yeah, you might use harsher language, you might do this, you might do that, but it's not going to change the basic function. What direction the car's moving in. Yeah, it wavers a little, bangs off the white lines a little bit, you cross the white lines a little. So what? The direction doesn't change any. They're saying fuck you to them. They're kicking them in the nuts. You know, they're shoving shit up their ass. So yeah, all of this, I say, all these little murders are so expensive. So every little criminal, I mean, if you add up, it's millions of dollars. You know, almost for every crime that's committed. Everybody who speeds. I mean, there's all these court costs, all this infrastructure, all this crap that has to be spent. You know, huge amount of money wasted. Okay, monitoring this behavior that shouldn't even take place. I mean, every car should be built with a little thing that automatically says, do you know you're going 60 miles an hour and that's really fucking fast? And you really probably don't need to go any faster than that, fuckhead. I mean, is there really a good reason that you need to go 80 miles an hour and just keep increasing the probability of something going wrong and you not being able to handle it? And flying across the road and killing other people? Is there any really good reason that other people should be put at risk? You dumb fuck. So why don't we have cars that say that? You know, you just explain, oh, do you really realize, I mean, it's fast enough, fuckhead. Aren't you going fast enough, fuckhead? I mean, is there any real good reason to go any faster, fuckhead? On a public highway with little kids in cars, is there any good reason for you to go any faster, fuckhead? The fucking car should be saying it. The person should already know it. I shouldn't even have to talk about these things as being things you don't fucking goddamn do. There's assholes who are just sitting there throwing banana peels on sidewalks all fucking goddamn day. And these people are arguing, well, they can't help being a banana peel thrower. Well then, too fucking bad. Boom. Shoot them. Fuck it. We don't need those computers on this planet. We don't need any computers on this planet. We certainly don't need these shitty ones. Some sort of bullshit like that. So they're at this huge competitive disadvantage. Well, we should fix all of that shit. Right? So we have all this stupid lottery ticket crap, right? So I was talking a little bit about sports. You know, a lot of these sports, all the money goes to the 3 winners. Nobody else gets any money. They all suffer, live cruddy lives, having to sell themselves to the marketing prostitution kind of thing. They just, you know, terrible, cruddy, shitty little life. You know, so all the winners can get everything. You know, and it's just too stupid. You know, we can't figure out that, well, that's not really deserve having anything to do with it, is it? So 900 people go through the hard effort to learn how to get a degree and do the studies, and they're just not quite good enough. And so they shouldn't get paid anything, and we should give all the money to the 3 guys who do it the best. I mean, these are just simple logical equations. Come on. And these frickin' intellects can't even do these simple logical equations. It's just pathetic. Can't rationally be defended. You can't logically defend the excuse. When somebody disses you, you know, hey. Okay, so again, it's just, what's the point of trying to argue that they couldn't help being too stupid to figure out 2 + 2 doesn't equal 3? And that's really what it comes down to, right? There's not one of these fucking criminals who isn't violating something as simple as 2 + 2 does not equal 3. They're all coming up with some kind of bizarrely perverse notion of reality to defend what they're doing. Some notion that their fucking feelings are so much more important than everybody else on earth. They have some sort of piece of information that is so corrupt, so nasty, so worse than fucking Hitler. Even Hitler loved his dogs, for fuck's sake. There are humans right now walking around that these people would placate who really can't even figure that out. They're cruel, malicious, monstrous minds that have absolutely no capacity to understand they have an obligation to all the other feeling creatures. And look at how many people are so glib about frying up their dinner, and they'll make jokes about it. These disgusting weasels will sit there and make jokes about barbecuing, you know, about torturing other creatures so they can have their yummy, yummy meals. And they'll trivialize it. It's not one thing to say, I'm entitled. Make some argument that you're fucking worth enslaving creatures to your existence. Well, go ahead and make some argument that you're fucking worth it because you can do mathematics and you know how to yield before you go through an intersection. So therefore, you're entitled. But don't fucking insult everything called intelligence and sit there and trivialize and make a joke about torturing something. How fucking pathetic can these people be? I mean, why should that pathetic creature who is making jokes about torture, why should we worry that we need to reclamate him? Or that he couldn't help being a complete motherfucking cunt? Of course he could help it. Bullshit. He doesn't have some notion in his head that's going off, some speedometer that's saying, could you be more evil? You're joking about torturing little kittens and things? What the fuck is wrong with you? They don't have that voice in their head? The fuck they don't. Satisfying it. Well, that's on its face stupid, and then you're throwing torture in as an extra penalty. Let's have some extra torture. Yeah, so I was talking about opening the torture door for absolutely no good reason. For what? For the song and dance? For a joke about barbecues? I'm gonna torture shit so somebody can tell barbecue jokes? Oh, fuck you people. Fuck you for accepting this low level of functionality and fucking embracing it and defending it. Fuck that. So fucking irritating.
Differences, and learn about that and remember.
Oh, well, this gets into the whole thing of everybody writing history, so then we're back. Oh, yeah, so the version of all the horror stories, and what's the bad, and yeah, none of it we can't even agree on what's real or bad. The poor settlers in America were so abused by the king. What a pile. It's just a big fat made up story. The abuse is that England invested a lot of money in developing America, and it was theirs. So it was their property, and they just decided we'd rather own it. They just stole it, period. And they turned it into some grand freedom fighting story of, oh, we fought oppression and blah, blah. What a pile of shit. None of those assholes were oppressed. Jefferson and Washington, the whole list, none of those fuckers were oppressed. It's just, what a pile of shit. They just wanted more money. They wanted a bigger piece of the pie. They're just grafters. Anyway. So yes, there's a bit of ranting in this video and in the other video. So anyway, yeah, we'll leave it there. So, but there's a lot to this subject, but it just has to do with the failure is dismal everywhere. The science is a failure. This trivial conversations about what is real, the very fact that they interject some sort of crap in there about quantum irregularities having something to do with humans' wills. Oh, it's all just such slime and garbage. It's just so stupid. It's so fucking ignorant. It's so, this is the best human intelligence can do is have some whiny little baby conversation about how we're too tough on the shitty humans. No, we're too easy on the shitty humans. We expect nothing from them. We demand nothing. And you pay a gigantic price for it. The gigantic price is you can't be sure your kids are safe on the goddamn street. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be paying that price. All right, so enough said. Until the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. This has been a cranky person video production. Yeah. so hopefully I'll get to some more of this stuff, and maybe in a more relaxed frame of mind. Till then and such. Fuckers.